Ollie Hensley was born in 1897, and we put him in the ground in 1976 above Rockhouse Creek in Letcher County. He could stand at the foot of a big poplar and tell you within a foot of where it would lay. Nobody wrote that down. It went in the ground with him, and there was no getting it back. That is what this one is about. 8 things men on this creek could do that mostly died when they did, and every one started the same way, with a man reading something the rest of us only looked at. My grandmother Vesey taught me half of what I know, standing at her elbow, and Ollie taught me the rest by making me watch and keep still. I am Burl Hensley, 68, and I have spent my life holding on to what these old people carried. Here's the twist. Number 3 will still make a man real money today, $500 to $1,200 for 1 dried pound, and it is against the law to dig it wrong. Number 5, I believed the better part of my life until I read it and found I had it backward. And number 1 is not a skill at all, but the thing under all the others, the one no book ever held. These were not quaint. This is how a family with no money and no store close by stayed fed and dry through the winter. There are not many left who can do them. Let's count them down. Number 8, riving shakes, splitting your own roof shingles off a block of oak with a froe and a wooden maul. You read the block, set the froe where the grain wants to go, and let the wood come apart along its own grain instead of sawing across it. A split shingle follows the fiber the whole way, so rain runs down unbroken grain and sheds. A sawed one drinks water at the cut face and rots. Chase the grain off true, and the shake curls on the roof inside a year. Number 7, hewing a log square with a broadaxe. You snap a line down a round log, score to it every foot or so with a felling axe, then take the broadaxe, ground flat on one side, and hew the chunks off clean to the line. That is how you got a square beam before there was a mill. There is one real safety point here, and I will not skip past it. A broadaxe is sharp on one face and swung down the side of the timber toward your own leg, and it will cut you to the bone if you follow through wrong. Cut past your line and you have thinned the beam, and there is no putting wood back on. This is where these quit being handy and start being how people got through. Number 6, laying up a stack rock chimney and chinking a cabin. You built it of creek rock with mud for mortar, leaned it in as it climbed, and broke the joints so no crack ran straight up. The part folks miss is the throat. You pinch the flue narrow just above the firebox, and that squeeze pulls the smoke up hard instead of back into the room. Between the logs, you daub mud over split wood, and that is chinking. Ollie set a throat by eye, and it drew clean every time. Build it plumb with no lean, and the whole stack sheds itself down the hill in a hard freeze. Number 5, water witching. Walking a piece of ground with a forked stick of peach or witch hazel, waiting for the butt of it to dip over water so you know where to sink a well. I believed in it. I watched a man find water with a green stick when I was a boy and carried that most of my life. Then I went and read it. The government studied this in 1917. A man named Arthur Ellis wrote it up, and every honest test since has landed in the same place. The stick moves, but off tiny motions in your own hands, you cannot feel the idiomotor effect. And in a country like ours, a man could dig most anywhere and hit water, so the stick got the credit the ground already owed. I had it wrong, and I would rather tell you than let it stand. The old witches were reading the land, the seeps, the sycamores, the lay of a draw, real even when the stick was not. Honest is better than impressive. Trust the stick over the ground, and you will pay a driller to punch a dry hole. From here on down, Every one of these was still worth money to somebody, and some of it still is. Number 4, coopering. Building a watertight barrel out of flat staves with no glue and not one nail. You cut the staves from white oak, bevel the edges so they draw into a circle, raise them over a small fire so the heat and steam bend the wood without cracking, then drive iron hoops down tight. When the barrel takes water, the wood swells and closes on itself and holds for 50 years. It has to be white oak, not red. White oak grows little plugs in its pores called tyloses, about 7 times what red oak carries, and those plugs stop the water. Leave one gap in a joint, and it weeps at the seam and never quits. Number 3, ginseng, wild ginseng. It grows on the cool side of a hill, the north and east slopes, in the shade under sugar maple and poplar, alongside mayapple and bloodroot. Vesey kept a patch she never showed a soul, and the money off it bought shoes more than one fall. The digging is the easy part. The skill is telling a 3-prong plant from a young one, taking only the old, and pushing the ripe red berries back in the ground with your finger so the patch lives on. And you had better know the law. Ginseng has been under a treaty called CITES since 1975, and in Kentucky, you cannot dig before the 1st of September, take a plant under 5 years or 3 prongs, or sell except to a licensed dealer. Dig it out of season or dig it to the last root, and you have killed a patch that took 40 years to stand. Now follow the money on that root. The man who digs it and dries it sells to a licensed dealer for something like $500 to $1,200 a pound. That same root goes on to the export trade and the market in Asia, where good wild American ginseng has brought many times that. The digger climbs the steepest ground on the mountain, and the biggest dollars land at the far end of a line he never sees. I am not telling you there was a meeting. There was not. It is quieter than that. The value gathers where the export paper is and not where the shovel is. And everybody along the way does better when nobody down here runs the math. The last 2 take a lifetime, and each is down to a handful of people who can still do it right. Number 2, reading the weather off the sky and the air, back when a wet week could rot your hay. Some of it is true. When the pressure drops ahead of a storm, the smoke off your chimney quits rising and lays low, and that is the air telling on itself. Vesey could stand on the porch and call rain by dinner. Now I will be square with you. A good part of the weather lore does not hold up. Splitting a persimmon seed to read the winter, counting the brown on a woolly worm, the Weather Service looked at that and found nothing to it. The worm's color is about its own age, not the winter coming. What is real is the sky and the pressure and years watching one ridge. Read a bug instead of the sky, and you will get caught with your hay down. Number 1 is not a thing you do with your hands. It is the reed. It is standing at the foot of a big tree and knowing how it will come down before you cut. The lean, the weight of the crown, the wind, the rot you cannot see, where the hinge will hold and where it will tear. No book gives you that. You get it from a man beside you for years saying, "Watch," until one day it is in you and you could not say how. Logging still kills more men for its size than any job in this country, better than 100 for every 100,000 who do it, most from a tree that came down wrong. Read it wrong, and the tree reads you. What dies with the old faller is not the notch or the back cut. Those are in a book. What dies is the judgment behind them, the reed itself. And that was never a thing you could hand across in words. Here is my challenge, a small one. Go find a froe. A new one runs about $40, and you will see old ones at farm sales and flea markets for 10 or 15. Get a block of straight oak, set the froe on the end, read the grain, and split one shake off by hand. You will not be a cooper by Sunday, but your hands will start to learn what your eyes have missed, and that is the beginning of the reed. Then tell me in the comments, and I mean one specific thing. What is the tool in your house that come down to you from somebody, a froe, a draw knife, a broad axe, an auger? Whose was it, and what county did it come out of? I read every one of these, and what you all send back is the whole reason I keep doing it. There were men on this creek who could stand at a tree and know to the foot where it would lay, raise a chimney that drew clean, and call the rain off a clear porch. There is none of them left now. That's how it was done. Now somebody else knows.